This model is one of the Nooteboom Redline series and comes in a cardboard outer shipping carton. Inside there's a new style of windowed box and it's in Nooteboom branding, and although you can't see it easily, the Nooteboom name is nicely embossed in the top. Inside, the packaging seems very similar to that used on many other WSI truck models, and it consists of an expanded polystyrene tray with a clear plastic lid. It is factory sealed, so a swish of the knife is in order, and then you can lift the lid up. The good news is that the packaging seems to work well because there are no detached parts in the box. So let's press on and pull out the pieces. There are two bogie units, a 4-axle and a 2-axle. Next out is the deck of the low loader. And there's a small bag, and that's got a number of pieces inside that allow some different configurations to be made. The last two components to come out are the gooseneck and the Mercedes-Benz Actros tractor unit. Inside the box there are still a couple of things lurking, so let's take a look at what those are. First up is a little plastic collector card. It's about the size of a credit card, and it does refer to the model, but actually has pictures of different models. However, it is really good to see that WSI have provided an instruction sheet with this model. Although it doesn't cover every aspect of the model trailer, it's well worth having. And on the reverse side, it's really good to see there's lots of information about the real trailer as well. So we'll start by assembling the trailer in its basic configuration, and the first thing to do is to connect the deck with the rear bogie. And it's a familiar connection system. You just join up the interlocking holes, and there's a steel pin which gets pushed through, although you might need a screwdriver or something to easily push it home. Okay, that's the back end of the trailer, so let's go to the front end and connect the interdolly to the gooseneck. And it's an easy hook over connection, and the only thing that you need to do then is to put the cables and hoses that come out of the gooseneck and feed them into the interdolly. I'm using a pair of tweezers here to help push things in, but if you've got really thin fingers then maybe you can do without. The last piece of joining up to do on the trailer is to hook the front of the deck into the interdolly. And again, that's a simple and solid hook over connection. So that's the trailer basically assembled, and there's some detailing to add which we'll come to in a moment, but now we'll just hook up the trailer to the Mercedes-Benz tractor, and that's basically it. The model's assembled. With the only thing that's left to do is to attend to some detailing, so there's some hoses to plug into the deck from the interdolly. It's a little bit stiff, but if you're used to handling small stiff things, you just need to push it into the hole. At the back of the trailer there are a couple of pieces to add. One is some width marker boards, and the other is a blanking board that just fits in the end of the deep trough, and it just clips into place too. There are some more width markers which just attach underneath the gooseneck, and for those occasions when you feel a bit flat, there's a couple of spare wheels that just go into the storage holder on top of the gooseneck. As usual for WSI, the modelling of the tractor chassis is very detailed, and the transmission and gearbox is all visible. There are different tyres on the front and rear wheels, and they look smart with the red hubs. There's a light bar on the roof of the cab, and the door mirrors are colour coded, and the chevron decoration looks very striking. As usual for a Nooteboom Redline model, there's a unique number on the tractor, and for this one it's T030. Although it's hard to see, the interior detail is good. There's a Mercedes-Benz logo on the steering wheel, and the instrument panel has some graphics too. The exhaust is nicely chromed, and the equipment tower is detailed, but it's all entirely plastic. The wheel arches are plastic, and the lights at the back have lenses. Turning to the trailer, the gooseneck is mostly a metal part with some good surface finishes, and the control console on the side is detailed with very small graphics. Underneath the modules, the axle components are all modelled in metal. The finish on the top surface is very good with the bolt heads highlighted, and other small graphics and bits of equipment add to a realistic look. The replica timber surface on the deck is also good because the screw heads are highlighted within the plastic. At the back, the sides of the trough are detailed with graphics, and at the back the beacon lights and electrical sockets really look good. At the Baumer 2013 exhibition, Nooteboom had the Pendlex trailers on display, and it gave a chance to see at first hand how the details on the real trailer had been interpreted into the details on the model. The yellow edge stripes are there, as are the red hubs on the wheels, And it's also impressive to see how the small graphics on the real truck have been interpreted onto the graphics on the model. For the features review, we'll start with the Mercedes-Benz out on the test track. And it rolls quite smoothly, although you do need some downward pressure to make sure all of the wheels are grounded. If we take a look underneath, we can see that the rear axles all spin easily, and there is linked steering available on the front two axles. Although the engineering of the steering is clever, the range of movement is really quite small, as the tyres will get fouled at all but the shallowest of angles. The cab on the tractor unit tilts very easily and it can stay tilted, and the engine underneath is nicely detailed and it's got the Mercedes-Benz name on it. Moving on to some of the trailer components, we'll look at the gooseneck first, and there is some movement available in the gooseneck. The two cylinders that control the connection points do work, they are very stiff. Moseying on over to the axle units, they are of a similar standard. One of the very nice features is the fully sprung suspension, which is modelled into each wheel unit, and we'll have a bit more of a detailed look at that in a moment. The steering is also good, it's parallel on the smaller unit, although it's not quite as precise as on some other WSI units, and the steering range is moderate before the tyres start fouling on the body. The big unit is also very similar, with excellent suspension affecting the whole of the module. And on this one the steering is also not quite so precise, but it does have proportional steering, with the rear wheels turning more than the front wheels. To look at the suspension system, I've disassembled one of the wheel units, and the spring that controls it is actually mounted inside the cylinder. And that's a really neat and impressive piece of model engineering. So with the tractor and trailer ready, let's have a go at loading it up, and here comes a wheeled loader, and it fits comfortably on the deck. But on this occasion the CranesEtcTV team want to be a little bit greedy and carry that little bit more, so we'll put a container on the end. We best make sure it doesn't overhang, so we'll just shuffle the wheeled loader forward a little bit, and then the container can fit on comfortably. Moving on now to some of the additional functionality of the trailer, and it is extendable. It smoothly telescopes out, and when you do that you get an impressively long vehicle, about 23 inches or 59 centimetres long. So we'll use that extended capability with a bigger load, this time a Liebherr piling machine, and it produces a great display pose. There are some other detailed configuration possibilities, and one is to add deck posts, and you can put 4 just on the gooseneck if you like. Or the other possibility on this low loader is to put deck posts on the deck bed. There's quite a lot of them, so if you want to see me put each and every one in, please shout yes. Okay, I can't hear anyone saying yes, so I'll cut to the end, and there's all the deck posts installed. Another configuration option is to extend the width of the deck, and you do that by pulling out the little outriggers from the edge. And it's actually a little tricky to do because they're hard to pull out. But when they are out, you can add timbers on to increase the width. Although it's a bit of a puzzle to work out which timbers go where. The previous versions of this model had some numbering on them, but not this one. One thing is for sure, it's easier to fold in the outriggers than to open them up. It's also possible to configure the model without the interdolly, so here we'll try and remove it, and we'll see the width marker zoom itself off on its own. You then need to add a part onto the gooseneck to enable proper connection to the deck. It's a small plastic piece and it doesn't fit very well, at least not on the review model, but after some encouragement and a bit of swearing it becomes obedient, and then it's easy to connect the deck straight up to the gooseneck. So the effect of this is to produce a shorter vehicle more geared towards lighter loads. So we'll give that a try by just putting this Volvo articulated dump truck on board. In summary, this is another very nice Nooteboom trailer model from WSI. On the whole, the functionality is good and there's certainly a high level of detailing. As always with this type of model, it looks particularly good with a load on board, and it's very easy to highly recommend.